Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is December 9th, and this is another of our monthly Blocker Box Scrubs. Our host is Eddie, so I'll pass the baton to Eddie to run the show for us today. Take it away, Eddie.
Thanks, Mache. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Jeff, would you like to start with anything from Customize today?
No, just a little bit of an announcement. If anybody had any questions, I was here to answer questions. But the one thing I want to mention is next week we're going to talk about Open API integration into Customize, and also provide an update on the reintegration into kubectl plan. We've made a lot of progress, and I'm excited to talk about it given the opportunity. That's it.
Awesome. I will definitely be all in on the Open API stuff because I'm working with that as well right now, and it's confusing. Okay, cool. So I guess I'll just share my screen, which I need the baton, Mr. Schulich.
Oh, of course, I forgot about that one. Let me fix that right away. You should have it.
So sharing my screen. Okay, so first one's up. We talked about this at the meeting last week, and I assigned you to respond to this, Mache. This was structured log output for kubectl so it can be parsed. This is 963. Put this in the chat.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it after the call. I'm way behind my reviews and all that because we had a freeze for our internal products, and I was completely...
Okay, 943. Sally's been looking at this one. Kubectl run does not fail when you do not pass a name, when you pass a -- command. This still looks like a legitimate bug.
And there is an open PR.
Oh, there is.
Or at least it's related. And that's the, well, that's the global flags for kubectl plugins. So maybe not necessarily related. No, it's not related, but the global flags is something on my list for review. So
I'll bump Sally on it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Official documentation for kind list. So this came up a few times. I brought this up in the API Machinery weekly meeting, and I think they deflected to us because we're the ones who use this improperly according to them. And then we need to decide where we want to document it.
I started thinking about it. I was present at that call, and I started thinking that maybe, because what it looks like is that we are, the only reason that we are using the list there is because we allow packing several different kinds of resources. So for example, if you request pods and services, the pods will be returned as pod list, services as service list, but we can't combine both into a consistent list. That's why we repack everything into generic lists. And this way we can get away with having single lists instead of several. There's alternative, which would be that we would have YAML lists or JSON lists, not sure. if that will be something we should do, or the biggest worry of mine is that it might be a breaking change. So probably it would be reasonable.
So SIG API machinery said that kind list is an internal type that they never intended to be exposed. And
Yeah.
we are using it for the reasons Maciej said of mixed resources. Do we create a mixed resource list and use that and document it, or?
I think that goes back to the original days when the internal and external types were mixed, and probably we never fixed this properly. Generally, the list was removed from the majority of places. Apparently, this is where it was left. Maybe converting to unstructured could be a possible solution. I'd have to have a closer look. Maybe we need a long-term solution, but the quick one for now is probably to document that this is what kubectl get will return.
You want me to put this on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, Sean, that's we could get rid of the exposed list type. The problem with that is it's a breaking change because you are basically changing the YAML or JSON representation of your result. So yeah, that probably would have to be the long-term solution. But we have to announce, we have to make the decision to do it this way. And then we have to go through the usual dance of deprecating the old one and replacing it with a new one.
Yeah, and so for more context, this is an old issue that was reported, and it was just reported about there's no documentation and they can't explain list. But then I came through here after someone reopened it, and this is like linked to from a bunch of places. Like Helm has a bunch of issues related to it where people are linking to it pretty often. So this is definitely confusing folks that it's a type that gets sent back by kubectl, but it's not like used or documented. So that's the context for that one.
Yeah, definitely it will be worthy discussing and making that final call, what do we want to do with it. And I'm guessing that returning, we could probably I don't know, introduce flatten as a default false. We'll keep it as that for a couple of releases, then we will switch, and then eventually we'll get rid of the old output. But it will be like usual extended period of time needed to perform that change. Sagar is asking, do we create new kubectl issues requests specifically in the Kubernetes repo? Yes. So we are trying to move away from the main Kubernetes repo, but obviously people will open issues in both places, in the Kubernetes and in the kubectl repo. So yes, it's a problem for us. But eventually we would like to have all the issues in the kubectl repo.
Does it make sense if I move that issue over to this repo? Will it be helpful?
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable.
Okay, cool.
But which issue you're talking about?
1 second, let me just link the issue here. It's 97133. I'll send the link over here. I did not mean to hijack this. I'm so sorry. I thought I would just quietly ask it in the chat.
Did you, Sagar, do you want to, we can talk about this one now if you'd like, since you're here.
Sure. Just a quick introduction. Hi, guys. I'm Sagar. I work on the CAPI side of things. This is my first SIG CLI meeting. So, hi. Thanks for having this one and for having me here. Quickly about this issue, like we in the CAPI code base actually need some code from the kubectl drain side of things. So I think probably a year back, since like this code wasn't rendered at that time, we kind of just copy pasted the drain code in the CAPI code base and kept on using it. During the year that we were using it, we made a change wherein like we are passing a context to a patch call where we patch the status of the node before we try to cordon or uncordon it. Now that the code has been rendered, I kind of checked that this context that we expect is kind of missing. So does it make sense to like basically introduce a context which can be used while updating the status of the node? So this is kind of a rough PR that I added around the thoughts that I had. And I had a Slack thread in the channel, but I think I had it on a Friday, and that's why probably it kind of did not work. So yeah, I have tried to add everything. Please go ahead.
So I wouldn't move the issue. You already have a PR, which from a quick glance looks okay to me. I'll have a look at the what's the usual way with adding extra method with context, but I'm pretty sure that what you did here is exactly what we should have. So I'll add this one to my review list for today or somewhere towards the end of this week. And I think it should be pretty straightforward, and it'll be just approved quickly. So yeah. Yeah, just like Sean said, the context to do is a placeholder for the majority of places. So overall, the PR is perfectly fine. It's just a matter of ensuring that we follow the standards that we have somewhere else. But I'm pretty sure that with context is what we do. Yeah.
Also, welcome to the community, Sagar.
Yeah,
I see this is your first PR to Kubernetes, so
yes,
that's awesome.
We can actually tag the PR as well that it is accepted, and I'll assign it to myself.
Okay. Okay, so this next one is drain helper defaults to delete immediately, number 982 in kube control. They also have an attached PR. This PR just adds a comment. So as long as this comment is accurate in terms of this grace period, then this is probably just good to go.
Is that true about the negative value?
Someone want to take this one and dig in?
Yeah, I mean, I can, you mean just check whether the comment is accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Um,
Or you have thoughts?
the grace period seconds is then passed to delete. And if I remember correctly, we are trying to straighten up delete. I'm not sure if we have a PR, but there was a discussion some time ago, maybe there's even PR, that currently our delete command has different options, and it's very confusing. And maybe it was discussed during one of the SIG CLI calls. It is very confusing how to use the delete command properly. So before doing that, I would actually check what we do with inside of delete. And if delete are actually, oh, this is directly passing to delete options. Okay, so this is delete options, but not from the command, but the server side delete options. So we could probably just copy the comment from the meta v1 delete options, because that's basically what it does. So I'll let Brian have the final saying. I'll leave approve of that on the PR, and I'll let Brian do the final check.
No, thanks. I'll take a look at the Meta v1 delete options and see what it says in there.
Yeah.
Okay. This is 979. Repetitive messages in kube control rollout status.
They provide the version they are using, because I have been using this command recently and I don't see this output, at least in my environment.
Okay. I'm going to assign this to you, Doug.
Sure, thank you.
What is the label? Is it needs information?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't assign you yet, Doug. I think you have to assign yourself for now. Okay, this is a fun one. So kube control uses far more memory than expected, number 978. And I took a look at this, and this seems to be really related to what Antoine was reporting, and we dug into at one point, which was not streaming results and instead buffering the entire API response before outputting it. So I'm like 90% sure this is the same issue, just instead of being slow to use the reporting, it's just taking up a lot of memory. Which is also being slow.
So if in fact that's the issue, it's not clear what the fix could be.
Yeah. Hold on, Eddie. If you look at the command, what it actually does, it requests full JSON output. If you recall the issue with, we create the big list resource and then we throw it to the output, that's one of the reasons. If we would go the route of spitting object as we go, and we would create a valid JSON list or a valid YAML list, you could iteratively, write these resources. Just by the fact that we are creating this container, we have to put everything into the container and then print the container as a whole. When we will be, yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Sorry to interrupt. So in addition, it's impossible to do any sorting of the objects when you're streaming them, right? So you don't know which ones are which, and so sorting is impossible unless you see all of the items before you send them back.
Right. So we could. So there are a few possibilities. If you request sorting, then obviously the sort will take the time because it needs to collect them, sort them, and spit it out. In this particular case, though, he's just requesting the resources to be in a JSON format. So we could optimize for those cases where you're not sorting or when you are not doing anything with the results. For those cases, we could probably stream them as we are receiving them. So it would have to be conditional. It's not as simple, and it have to be related with the other work about list. So if you could link that to the list one.
Yeah.
The list was 984.
Yeah, I mentioned that in up above. Wait, 984?
Yeah, 984 is the official documentation on the use it kind list.
Oh, you said the list one. Okay.
Yeah, the list one. What did you hear?
I was thinking the streaming one. Sorry.
The streaming one is another topic, but they will be they are interacting with them. One relies on the other one heavily.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, being able to stream resources could be a argument for getting rid of the list as well.
Right. Type that up. This one is 976. Cube Control Describe Pod should specify any finalizers as well as its UID.
No. Describe is meant for humans to read. Finalizers and pod UID are system information. The reasons that they are giving pod UID allows us to distinguish between two different versions of a pod. Why the pod has the exact same name, they would probably have a different name. I would probably check the name because that's human readable than UID. Finalizers added on a terminating pod will allow us to know why the pod hasn't been deleted. That's a looking under the covers of how Kube works, and it's fine, but we don't want to extend kubectl describe indefinitely and pack it with as many information as the full YAM or JSON has. I'll comment there and I'll close that one.
Okay. Do any other describes provide the finalizers?
I don't think so because the finalizers are on pods. Well, no, on the other one as well, but I doubt we print them because we.
I think everything has a finalizer, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's part of the meta. You're right. But if I remember correctly, the code, we have a helper that prints the meta information. So I doubt we will be printing finalizers anywhere else.
I remember there being an issue where deleting a namespace was hung because of a finalizer.
Yes.
And I thought I remembered seeing that in describe, but maybe not.
I don't recall seeing finalizers. It's usually hidden. The annotations and labels will be there, but I don't think finalizers should be.
All right, Mache will respond on that one. 975.
I was wrong.
I do kind of wonder though if it's kind of there's a root problem here of that something is being terminated and they can't tell why it's not finished terminating. Like, I agree that we shouldn't be adding more things to describe necessarily for specific use cases, but it sounds like there's some underlying problem they're trying to solve for themselves by looking at things. And I wonder if, I don't know, just thinking out loud, like maybe there's some missing status information or something that we could provide. I don't know.
For the pod hasn't been deleted case, they have that information that it's in terminating or something along those lines.
Mm.
For the versions, I will probably use annotations, labels for knowing that this is another version of a different pod. But yeah, Eddie, I did check. There's only one place where we put the finalizers. 2. Persistent volumes and persistent volume claims are the only 2 that print finalizers for, I don't know why, but they do. And I'm inclined to remove them.
Okay, that's definitely where I saw it then, because I just remember trying to delete namespaces and it was stuck because of volume. So it also looks like it shows up under the full get YAML, which is expected, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where you are expecting a full YAML, and that's what you should be using for stuff like debugging UIT or finalizers.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. I didn't mean to hold us up.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, but that's a good suggestion, Brian. I'll ask them what kind of a issue they're trying to solve.
Okay, 975. Cube control command cannot overwrite the service or deployment which been changed by manual update. Oh, this is a different issue. This is specific to ports. This is an old one.
Yeah, the missing part is what is the error that they are getting, because I'm assuming that might be wrong, and it should be easily verifiable. You cannot modify ports on a service that is already existing. I might be wrong, But
Can you assign this one to me as well? I can dig this one.
Yes. This, Doug, I'm pretty sure that this is the specific to ports. And I think we have another open issue somewhere for this.
I would check service validation because it might be related that for specific cases, it is not possible to modify.
Is it this one? I'm looking at 906. This is with a diff.
Isn't that the problem where if you have two ports that are the same number but different protocols, that they override each other?
That's fixed in 120, right?
I don't remember. Maybe it's not. I just saw that it was port 53 with TCP and UDP.
Where are the release notes? There they are.
Or maybe it's related. Maybe this is a new one because the diff looks funny. It's like it changed the name of the TCP port to be UDP instead of naming. Yeah, the diff definitely. Maybe this is a different related but different issue.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Here's what I was talking about. Usage of mixed protocol values in the same load balancer service is possible in the new feature gate. Mixed protocol values. Anyone want to take a look at this one?
You mentioned Doug will be looking at it. Oh, you mean the what? The other one?
Yeah, Doug, I might assign this to you, and then we can call your plate full for now, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Okay, offer a silent flag. Okay, so I'm on this one, so we can move on. I'm just waiting for the user to get back so I can close this. We
Yeah,
talked about this at some point.
I'll push them towards apply.
Yeah, well, it turns out Helm has the flag they're looking for, so hopefully it solves everything.
Cool.
965 supports for setting resource version and kube control get. This is already possible, right? No. Oh, Macha, you're in here.
Yeah, it's an option.
This is different than using the full GVK in the get. We do deploy apps.deployment v1. No?
No, that's different. The resource version is when we do watch, we first list the resources and then we continue watching for updates to the resource. Currently, we always start with a 0. So you first get the resources and then only start watching. He would want to be able to ignore the initial information and be able to just watch from a particular version of the resource. It's possible. I'm not objecting.
This person was willing to work on it. I think we can just give him the thumbs up then.
Yeah, that I'll have a look. I'll read it through and I'll ask him if he's interested in that. I'm okay to review such a PR.
Okay. (962). Weight should leverage observed generation.
Yeah, I don't see any particular objections with that one.
Okay. Is Sachin on the call? I think Sachin is. Sachin, do you want to pick this one up too, since you're already going to be working on weight? I can DM Sachin about this later. I don't know his GitHub handle. Okay. (961). Too large OIDC token over Nginx proxy results useless error message. That's a massive token.
Yeah, whatever he's doing, we would have to get the ideally V8, V9. Also, I'm surprised that he's using two different version on Mac. He's mentioning 118.8, on Linux 116.1. It would be good if he could provide the output with the latest 120 on both, ideally with minus V8 or 9, because first of all, the tokens that I'm working with are not that big. And I don't have an Nginx proxy. I bet that setting this entire thing up would take me a lot more time than he could provide that for us.
Okay. 960. The connection to the server was refused.
That's a user error. I would point him to installing and using proper configuration. I'm guessing that the blog post that he was following just missed some step.
Yeah. Okay, I'll respond to this one.
Yeah, especially the one export kubeconfig, or he could halfway through the post where there's kubectl get node-o white, there's an export beforehand. So either he has to export the kubeconfig or pass the kubeconfig manually to the command.
Mhm.
It's a user error, not a bug.
Probably. Okay, kube control real user. Which user is executing commands inside a container?
So there are a couple things here.
Yeah.
First one is the user, but kubectl doesn't have a notion of a user per se. It's always connected with the authentication token or whatever the authentication method you're using. And that's basically usually based in the kubeconfig. The part where he mentions inside a container, I'm not sure if he's talking about the cluster in cluster config, in which case the username is actually the service account assigned to your particular pod. So that's either one or the other. I'll have a look at it and I'll ask him.
Okay. (958) about the signal handler in t.safe. I feel like this one's for Sean because this is what he talked about at KubeCon. Reusing kube control code.
Huh. Yeah, it has nothing to do with options though. Like an options for a command, it's just straight up using the term.
Anyone want to jump on this one?
I thought we had some kind of a interrupt. There's a parent there's a parent that I'm not sure. I'll have a look. I'll respond.
Okay. Are you going to be okay, Masha? You're taking on a lot, and you have a backlog.
I always have a backlog, but I'll eventually get to that one.
Right.
But I promise that will be the last one that I'll be looking at.
Okay.
Okay, another one, but I'll close the last one.
950. Setting remote HTTP kube control config by kube config. Evil Russian.
That to me looks like a candidate for K from Justin.
I thought you were going to say this looks like a candidate for a security issue, because that's what I was thinking.
That too, but but the part where he says 100 plus users of clusters, I remember that Justin had it nicely figured out. Because he literally is saying about having a single user for all, but yeah.
Where is K?
I mean, there are things they could do to just pull down that file and store it locally in their, when they automatically, I don't know that we need to build it into kubectl.
Yeah, that's literally what Justin put together with K, where he's working with this many clusters, and the K is capable of figuring out which cluster you're trying to work with based on the parameters you pass. So,
All right, we'll let Justin look at that one. One left and 7 minutes to go.
yeah, that I'll take it at this one because there's a simple answer. No. I looked at it in the past. It might be a duplicate request. The reason that I don't want to have logs for cron job is that with the current way cron jobs are working is that it's hard to figure out. First, there might not I'm not sure if you want to have the current cron job that is running. What if none is currently running? What if there are multiple running at the same time because you allowed multiple cron jobs being run, and so forth and so forth. There's this many edge cases and this many options that no, I don't want to do it. It makes sense for job because a job is a running job or you have a completed job. With cron jobs, there are multiple options that can happen, and picking the right one would be tedious. But I'll respond there and I'll close that one. And I'll make sure to explain why.
Okay. All right, so that was the last in the triage queue.
Hey Eddie, there was an email about one that got that BetaBot closed 7:55 that somebody wanted to have reopened. That just was like yesterday.
Okay.
I don't know if this is one we want to consider or not.
Add support to skip TLS verification when applying YAML from a server using self-signed certificates.
yeah, when we add that, Jan Coldwater will immediately yell at us for just like she did with the kubectl run -- privileged. She had so much fun with that one, and I was like, yeah, and I approved the PR. So I get the point. I wonder if the insecure skip to TLS verify is already in the client Go, because that's basically what we would have to do. We would have to pass it all the way down.
And maybe there's a workaround for them to, I mean, the problem is that it's a self-signed certificate and that their machine doesn't trust it.
Yeah, this really does feel like it's out of our wheelhouse. It would definitely require coordination with the API server, which wouldn't really, the API machinery, I'm sure, wouldn't want to have anything to do with this.
Would it though? Because, oh yeah, right. So even for server-side apply, do we download the manifest locally, or do we just send it to the API server?
We just send it to the API server.
Okay.
As a patch with a different content type. I mean, that's what the REST API looks like at the bottom. You send
but kubectl makes the request.
Well, yeah, kubectl does a patch, just throws the entire resource at the API server and lets the API server figure out calculate the patch instead of calculating the patch on the client side. But this, I mean, I don't, completely have my mind wrapped around what they're asking, but it does feel certainly like something very dangerous and would be painful to try to get through. Not sure we have
So,
cycles on this.
to answer the question, we need to have a SIG API machinery sign off. I can already tell you that SIG API machinery signed it off. If you look at client Go tools, client command API types Go, there's a cluster structure, which has insecure skip to as verifiable. And when we are talking with the server, we properly set them. And if I remember correctly, we just set that to never allow that. So it's a matter of us exposing that option. As simple as that.
Yeah, but if kubectl is making the request to the manifest, constructing the patch, and send it to the API server, this error is coming directly from kubectl making the GET request, right? If that's how it's working, if I'm understanding correctly, kubectl is the one throwing this certificate error.
Yeah,
trying to fetch the original manifest.
Yeah, because like I said, we always force the TLS verification. It's possible. Well, I would be curious because theoretically, I'm looking at. Oh, that's wrong. We already exposed that information. Look at kubectl options, and there's -- insecure skip -TLS -verify. It's false by default. So it's already there.
That has to be supported by the API server. Right, so that.
No.
It doesn't?
No, because it's basically the server sends you a certificate, and then there are two options. Either you have the CA from the certificate, which will say, yes, this is a valid certificate, Or if you don't have a certificate, you basically allow to use the insecure.
So somehow, some way, you would be turning off the auth handler in the API server.
You will be removing the TLS verification, not the auth bit. You're not removing the auth bit on the server. You are removing the verification. Eddie, if you're looking for that, kubectl options. This is the global options. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's the one.
So in the bug, he mentions this particular option and claims that it's not, it doesn't help, or it doesn't fix his problem.
No, he's meant in the bug. He's mentioning there's already insecure skip TLS verify for the API server. I propose we add a similar flag to support.
Yeah. Okay, I can test this one. I'll test if this works, and I'll reply or reopen or whatever.
So it could be that we just use that same flag that already exists and just use it not to verify. I mean, I don't know if we even want to do that. I certainly don't want to make things less secure. But I just, yeah, maybe it's already there and we can just use it.
It's already there. I think he's just he looked at the kubectl apply help, which shows the options for apply, but apparently a lot of people are not aware of the kubectl options, which shows you the global flags.
I had no idea this existed till just now. So
okay, I'll start. I'll start taking input for the next kubectl tips and tricks.
all right, I'll test that with the self-signed cert.
But basically, that's what he needs to do. He just has to use that option with a kubectl option because he thinks that this is only the server side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the server probably has the same option, but we're talking about the client side part. It's not bypassing the authentication on the server. That part is left unchanged. We are only removing the verification, which is another layer of security, obviously, on the client side. Even if the client side will be able passes this, it will go through any certificate. But if there's authentication on the server, that still will apply no matter what you do on the client side.
Yeah, that's a hard one because the people use self-signed certs all the time for development and other things. So it's just like,
yeah.
I'm glad they're using a cert as opposed to an unauthenticated server anyways, but yeah.
Especially that we're trying to get rid of the non-TLS ports from pretty much everywhere. That they're already deprecated, and there are PRs open already for Kube Scheduler, Kube Controller Manager, and I think API Server to make the TLS API the default ones.
Okay, we're over on time, so I don't want to keep anyone who has to leave. Feel free to jump off. But someone just posted this in Slack a few minutes ago that they have an open PR that needs eyes on. I just wanted to bring it up. Looks like you held this 2 weeks ago, Mache.
Yeah, that's the one about the token.
Mm-hmm.
I need to review what he said there.
Okay.
And respond. I pointed him to the token instead of the token file.
Got it. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. This is our last bug scrub of the year, so see you all next year.
Yeah, but we still have one SIG CLI next week.
Yes, we do.
One final one before holiday. So see you around next week, and have a good one. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thanks, team.